hope this story motivates some guys in their 20s that are struggling like I was. On January 8th, 2013, 2 years ago almost, I was fired from my job. The boss's last words to me were, "It was nice knowing you," as she showed me the door. I couldn't believe how cold and uncaring she was. I could feel how flush and red my face got. Just a month before, she had told me they were going to transfer me to another department within the organization. My current job was data entry and it truly sucked, but I took it because I was desperate for work. Instead of transferring me to the other department, she fired me. As I said farewell to all my coworkers, I liked my coworkers but hated everything else. I went outside and got in my car. My brakes started squeaking like crazy, so I called AAA. I was afraid of driving and crashing. Then I got my car towed to my mechanic and had my brother pick me up. Then I got home and tried to turn on my computer. My computer broke. At this point, I was almost ready to jump off my parents' roof onto the concrete below. I wanted some sweet release from the burdens of existence. I tried to get my friend to fix it and he said it was unfixable. He was an IT guy, so I believed him. The next day, my mechanic called me and told me that my brakes and rotors had to be replaced and that it would cost me $400. I trusted my mechanic, had been going to him for years, and went and paid him. It was my last $400. Now my bank account was $0. When I drove home, I backed into a brick wall and my bumper came off partially. I drove back to my mechanic, slowly, and he was kind enough to put it back together at no charge. An hour later, the HR person at my former job called me to notify me that instead of getting 8 weeks severance pay, I'd get 0. I wasn't sure how this was possible and asked an attorney friend of mine, and he explained that I got screwed and there wasn't anything I could do about it. Suing them wouldn't do me any good in the long run. So here I was, 28 years old, would have been homeless if it weren't for my parents, broke, depressed, owed $10,000 in back taxes from my previous job, no college degree. I was taking 2 classes a semester for years. My computer broke and my soul was almost crushed. I didn't know that the F I was going to do. I really had no options but suicide or moving forward, but I was at least lucky enough to get unemployment, and I started doing anything I could to make money so I could pay off my debt. I'd do anything. I babysat for neighbors, I drove people around like a taxi service. Then I started volunteering at a nonprofit near my house. Through that, I found more people that allowed me to work for them, doing odd jobs and stuff. Well, it turned out doing my odd jobs and with unemployment, I ended up making more money than I had at my previous job. And the work, although menial, was so much more enjoyable. I was paying taxes too, which was good because I owed a lot. Then slowly, I started getting some results. 6 months after I got fired, I finally graduated college. I finished all my classes after 9 years as a student. I was paying for my classes myself, so I got that debt off my back. Then, I found a new accountant that a friend recommended. My new accountant was a godsend and told me about some educational credits that I missed in past years. Since I was paying my tuition, the IRS owed me a credit. So my new accountant amended my tax returns, and I ended up paying 40% of my tax return down. I can't emphasize how huge of a help this was. So, I was grinding out life, doing menial jobs, but had just paid off a ton of debt and was slowly saving money and getting out of poverty. And I also had just earned a college degree. Eventually, I met a woman through the nonprofit that had a disabled husband. They were great people, and she hired me to hang out with her husband while she ran errands. I did that for a year and a half and she paid me pretty good money. Plus I had benefits like free food, and she told me that I literally saved her husband's life and hers, because without me, she would have to put him in a home. So that was a nice feeling. After getting fired, 2013 turned out to be the best year I had in 5 years. Then, a year and a half after volunteering, the nonprofit offered me a job. I gladly accepted. It's been the best job I've had, although it's only part-time, so I have to find a full-time gig. But I'm paying the bills. It also allowed me to move out of my parents' house, finally, at the age of 30. So here we are, it's January 2015, I just paid off my car loan, which means I have no debt, have about $20,000 saved in the bank, have my own place to live, which is the best place that I have ever lived, and I've lived in a house with friends, in an apartment with friends, in a frat house, in a dorm, and pretty much every other living arrangement one can think of. I'm far from where I want to be, but I'm getting there. I could go on and on. In closing, life is hard, problems come often, and people just have to keep grinding. Wake up every day and do your best. Have a plan and stick to it. Sounds cliche, but it works.